Yes, madam. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, one and all. We, on behalf of Center for Education Technology and NEP, Vienna, VJIET, Kanchana, Pratibha Rani Saha, Prithvi, Ashok, take pleasure in welcoming you all to this webinar and panel discussion on NEP 2020, a paradigm shift in content and intent, a look into higher education. The philosophy of Vijnana Jyoti unravels education as a process of presencing that is involve, indulge, and evolve, which is very much in the line of NEP 2020. VNR Vijnana Jyoti Institute of Engineering and Technology was established in the year 1995, and it has been catering to the domain of technical education through value-based orientation for societal transformation. And it is very gratifying to mention on this scintillating platform that this year marks the Silver Jubilee year for Vienna VJIET. And we also are very glad to share with you all that we completed one webinar on NEP with a focus on school education. Now, let me take the privilege of welcoming our panelists, Dr. S.S. Mantha Garu, Chancellor, KL University, and former Chairman, AICTE. So, welcome, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I also welcome Dr. Apparao Podile Garu, Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. I welcome Professor Kolluri V.L. Subramaniam Garu, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Hyderabad. Thank you, sir. I also welcome Ramakant Desai Garu, former President and co-CEO, Happiest Mind Technologies, and former Senior Vice President, Wipro Technologies.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. I deem it a privilege to welcome Sri Sanjeev Mehta Garu, Advisor and Head Program Development, IBM Innovation Center for Education. Thank you, sir. We thank all the panelists for sparing their valuable time and being on this platform, because it's very important for us to understand what is this NEP all about and how is that we are going to shape our future. So NEP 2020, the new education policy, is aimed to propel India's education system in the right direction. The policy recognizes the need of the hour, places increased focus on technology-based learning, application through virtual labs, and Divyang-friendly softwares. It will lead to equitable access to education while creating more future-ready workforce. In this scenario, we at Vienna VJIET and across the institutions, we all know the importance to deliberate and discuss the nuances of NEP 2020, which is going to create a paradigm shift to increase the quality of education and also strengthen India's position on the map as a global education destination. To start the proceedings of this webinar on NEP 2020, now I request Dr. C.D. Naidu Garu, Principal, Vienna VJIT, to welcome the audience. So.
Good morning, panelists, student panelists and members who join us different institutions and this panelist program. So,
sir, your voice is not very clear. Your voice is not coming very clear.
One second. Good morning, all the panelists and the members of faculties joined from different institutions for this panel discussion program on National Education Policy 2020 focus towards higher education. So I thank Professor Apparao Garu for Vice Chancellor HCU for joining us for this meeting, and I also thank S.S. Mantha Garu, former AICT Chairman, and Sanjeev Mehta from IBM, and Ramakant Desai from Bangalore, and a good friend of mine who joined for this meeting. Hello. Subramaniam sir from IIT Hyderabad who joined for this meeting. Thank you very much, sir, for joining for this meeting on national education policy. So this institute, in brief, VNR Vignan Jyoti Institute of Engineering and Technology is in Hyderabad, established in the year 1995, sir. So it is NAC accredited with A grade, A++ grade institution and 127 NRF ranking in engineering stream, and it is an autonomous institution by UGC. In brief, so in our institution, we formed a small team of 4 people to work on national education policy. How is that future national education policies demand of 2020, particularly in higher education, school education, middle education children. So we are doing a lot of research on national education policy in comparison with different countries' national education policies. Our team is doing, sir. So in this connection, this institute being year 2020 is the year of Silver Jubilee year for this institution. So we are conducting a series of panel discussions on national education policy by this team, sir. So we thank for accepting our invitation for joining this meeting today, sir, sparing your valuable time. Thank you very much, sir. We look forward for your valuable inputs for the national education policy, particularly focusing towards what kind of changes that can bring in higher education. So we thought national education policy has come after 34 years of education policy revised and then came into existence in the year 2020 onwards. So we thought, how is that this national education policy is quite different from the previous one, and also focus is the graduates that are coming out of this higher education institutions should not be a job seekers, should be a job creators. That is the education policy's inherent underlining theme is there. So so we can throw on light on those points also if you are interested to throw on that, so that more entrepreneurs will be in India to generate in future. That is what we were thinking on this national education policy. So I once again thank you very much, sir, for all the panelists for joining us today, sparing your valuable time for 1.5 hours time, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Kanchana?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your words, sir. Now I request Pratibha Rani Saha, Assistant Professor, to give a very short presentation on NEP 2020, a paradigm shift in content and intent, a look into higher education. Over to Pratibha.
A very good morning to everyone. I deem it a privilege to present brief inputs on the National Education Policy 2020. The team consists of Kanchana, Pratibha, Prithvi, and Ashok. As rightly said by Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. The most surprising fact of NEP 2020 is that it is India's only third education policy in 73 years of independence. Coming to the history of India's national education policies, the new policy on education was implemented by Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi in 1968, and the second one was by Prime Minister Sri Rajiv Gandhi in 1986. Few modifications were made to the NEP by Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao in 1992 and by Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2005. In 2019, the Ministry of Human Resources Development drafted the new education policy that aims in reducing curriculum content to enhance essential learning. The NEP was approved with an aim to introduce several changes to the existing system and was approved by the Indian Cabinet on 29th of July 2020 with a vision for 2040 in transforming school and higher education in India. It replaces the 34-year-old 1986 National Policy on Education. Moving on, as per the Right to Education Act, free and compulsory education will be provided for ages 3 to 18 instead of 6 to 14. It also aims to increase the state expenditure on education from 4 to 6% of the GDP as early as possible. It also aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio to 100% by 2030. The vision of NEP 2020 is it envisions an India-centric education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high-quality education to all. NEP 2020 is broadly divided into two categories, the school education and higher education. Moving on with the key principles of NEP under higher education, respect for diversity and local context in all curriculum, pedagogy, and policy in order to have a diversified syllabus and methodologies. Equity and inclusion ensures equitable access to quality education with special emphasis on socio-economically disadvantaged groups. Community participation to encourage philanthropic, private, and other activities. Using technology to eliminate language barriers for Divyang students and to plan and manage educational methods. Emphasize on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams, recognizing the unique capabilities in each student to encourage them in their specialized area. Encourage logical decision-making, problem-solving, and innovation in students. A continuous review based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts. Few major reforms in the higher education would be to establish and develop higher educational institutions with an aim to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education from 26.3% to 50% by 2035. A holistic and multidisciplinary education or approval to develop well-rounded individuals who possess critical 21st century skills. The undergraduate degree will be either for 3 to 4 years with multiple exit options with appropriate certifications. Similarly, postgraduate program will be for 1 to 2 years, integrated 5 years bachelor's or master's program, and MPhil to be discontinued. An academic bank of credit shall be established which would distinctly store the academic credits. Multidisciplinary education and research university will be set up to attain highest global standards. A stage-wise mechanism for granting graded autonomy to colleges through a transparent system of graded accreditation will be established to develop an autonomous college or university. The new regulatory system envisions to foster overall culture of empowerment by phasing the system of affiliation over a period of 15 years. National mission on mentoring will be established to govern the institution free of any external interference. This would help to move towards institutional, academic, and administrative autonomy for governance. It also aims to establish National Higher Education Regulating Council to function as a single point regulation for higher education, including teacher education, thus eliminating the duplication of regulatory efforts. A board of governors also would be established to govern the institution free from any external interference. To have an online self-disclosure based transparent system for approvals in place of inspections. Public and private higher educational institutions shall be treated on par within the regulatory regime for fee fixation. The center and state will work together to increase the public investment in educational sector to 6% of GDP at the earliest. Coming to National Research Foundation, this foundation will be established to fund outstanding peer-reviewed research and actively seed research to enable a culture of research through our universities. Internationalization of education is useful in order to promote India as a global study destination providing premier education at affordable cost. To constitute a committee called National Committee for the Integration of Vocational Education to ease with General Education Council. Open distance learning, the institutions will have the option of running open distance learning centers and outline programs in order to provide opportunities for lifelong learning. To set up a National Institute for Pali, Persian and Prakrit languages, to set up National Education Technology Forum in order to provide a platform for free exchange of ideas using technology to enhance learning, assessment and administration. MHRD will be renamed as Ministry of Education. And the other major reforms under this would be strengthening national institutes for promotion of classical languages and literature, attention towards Indian languages and language teachers, establishing Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation as to expand its translation and interpretation efforts and to promote traditional arts. The expected outcomes of this NEP are to ensure equity and inclusion, focus on 21st century skills in teaching, learning and assessment, effective governance, and to overcome the language barriers in learning. Finally, I would like to conclude with a quote by Albert Einstein that education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. With this, I thank everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pratibha, for a brief presentation. It is time for the panel discussion, and it is always gratifying to listen to path setters speak. Now, I take the privilege in inviting Mr. Ashok, Assistant Professor English, to introduce Dr. S.S. Mantha Garu to you all.
Thank you, Kanchana Madam. It is my privilege to introduce Dr. S.S. Mantha Garu. Dr. S.S. Mantha Garu, an eminent academician and an administrator, is a former chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education. Having joined the organization in March 2009 as its vice chairman, he had been at the forefront of bringing in some radical changes for transparency and accountability in its administration. Dr. Mantha Garu holds a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from the MS University, Baroda, and a master's in mechanical engineering from VJTI, Mumbai, with a PhD in combustion modeling from University of Mumbai. He held several administrative assignments like the Dean, Faculty of Technology. He specialized in robotics, which he taught for more than 15 years and has a rich teaching experience for more than 25 years. He was instrumental in setting up a state-of-art robotics, CAD and CAM laboratory at VJTI, providing consultancy in the area of industrial automation. He implemented the first e-governance project, automating the workflows for the Department of Higher and Technical Education, Government of Maharashtra in 1995. The first Citizen Facilitation Center, Kalyan Dombivli Municipal Corporation, an e-governance initiative which has won many national and international awards, was his expertise amongst others. For his services, he was conferred the Best Teacher Award by the Government of Maharashtra in 2002. He currently is the IT expert for the Department of Information Technology, Government of Maharashtra. He is also the recipient of Infocom CMAI National Telecom Award for the year 2010. He has more than 175 publications in national and international journals and conferences. He has co-authored a book on Object-Oriented Programming in C++, published by Wiley, India. With these few words of introduction, I welcome Dr. S.S. Mantha Garu to share his views. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, the principal of the institute, Professor Naidu Garu, Professor Apparao Garu, and all my other co-panelists, the faculty of the institute, and the invited guests. The national education policy has been discussed in many forums, many times by many people, and there are several takeaways, and there are also equal number of concerns on the detailing that has been done within the document. Now, it certainly talks of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. But they all need, the challenge is in the implementation. There are very good things written about within the document, but the real challenge probably would be the implementation. We have a very robust higher education system with almost 1,000 universities, 45,000 colleges, and so on. The higher education GER has been just about 25, which also means that for every 100 eligible students, 25 go to college, whereas 75 of them are sitting outside. Now, there are many reasons for that. The main reason being the affordability of education, and the second is just no interest in the current education that the institutions and the universities give. So therefore, the national education policy has some pointers to address both of them, those who are in the college and those who are not in the college. Now, they are probably the candidates for the vocational education, the skill building, and so on. Though it's a fact that the people who go to college also need skills, and there could be a difference between the kind of skills that these two groups need. A lot has been said already in the initial presentation. The reforms that are sought by the policy, like for example, the GER raised to 50 by 2035 and so on. It could possibly be raised to 50, not in 15 years, but probably could be achieved even in 5 years, provided we extend this virtual education paradigm, albeit with certain checks and balances, and so on, and talk about a virtual university where people come together, collaborate. The existing universities, the existing institutions, they start collaborating with each other and get at the best of the departments to handhold and create content which is freely available. For example, let's assume there is a LMS that is provided by the authorities, by the government, and which is shared by institutions and so on. That the trouble really is the content. Now, unless you have very good content and developed in order to engage an uninitiated asynchronous learner, these things don't succeed. So therefore, content is extremely important. Now, content can be developed and it's being developed and so on, but it needs to be of a very high quality. So therefore, it's very necessary that people collaborate with the third-party content that is available in the, maybe it may be from people like Coursera or edX or Udemy or whoever, and some content is also available on the Swayam portal. Now the question is, can every institution afford all this? So therefore, it's necessary that clusters are formed, people come together, collaborate, and instead of each institution getting after sourcing the content and so on, they all collaborate and get the pricing down from a student's perspective. If all that is done, probably we'll move into a concept called virtual university, and that has the potential to raise the GER uh, even much before the time that is specified. Now, there is also a specific, there is also mention in the NEP that 3.5 crore or 35 million seats will be added in to higher education. Now, this is good to hear, but we also need to realize that is the kind of education that is being imparted now that should be imparted in future, and what are the numbers that are going to be there, and things like that. So therefore, there is a need to relook at the kind of skill building, at the kind of competency-based skills that are being talked about within the uh, within the policy. There are many other things. Multiple entry exit is an extremely good initiative, but there is a flip side to this. We have been used to a system where 3 years after 12 gets you a degree, maybe in art, science, commerce, and then you go in search of employment. And the point is, the employment could be anything as long as it fetches you certain amount of remuneration, and probably the employment and the degree that you have, they are completely disconnected. Now, having said that, the new policy talks about an exit after every year. So there is an exit after 13, there is an exit after 14, there is an exit after 15, and then 16 is a graduation by honors and so on. This is good to hear because people get the flexibility to go out and do their own thing, come back and study at their own pace, and so on. Having said that, it's a real challenge to create the content that is required for this kind of working. Now, when a person chooses to exit after 13, which means 1 year after 12, the employment market should be as dynamic to employ him with the kind of skills that he has at that point. So therefore, it's a real challenge to create the content which also creates certain amount of competency-based skills where he becomes employable within the employment market. So that seems to be a problem area. The accumulation of credits, and they're all extremely good things to think about. Then we are also talking of a single regulator, though the overlap of regulations can be addressed to some extent. Doing that, there is a certain amount of importance that that goes with applied sciences or the engineering, the technology, and so on. So therefore, you can't put everything into one basket and say that this is the one which is going to regulate everybody. So therefore, the finer aspects of different disciplines, there is one regulator in the new structure. There is one other point. If all education needs a similar regulatory authority, why keep legal and medical education out? There has not been a single credible answer to really make this point clear. Then there are other things like National Educational Technology Forum to be formed, and include General Inclusion Fund and things like that. There, some of them to address the research requirements are extremely good. Yes, like our Honorable Prime Minister has said, NEP does transform the intent and content. There is nothing to fault on intent, but the content needs implementation, and that is a challenge. The challenge is in terms of finding the requisite funds. The first policy, education policy that came in '68 talked about 6% of GDP. In 2020, we are still talking of 6% of GDP. Now, the problem is, in actual terms, it has never risen above 2.4 to 2.5 to maximum 2.8%. Now, assuming that suddenly it will go up to 6% and then things are going to happen is a little difficult, because the the road map is not clear within the document as to where that additional funding is going to come from. And there is something to learn from the way industry has worked out their requirements, and therefore we need to look at how industry transformed through the ages. And today we talk about industry 4.0, and we need to connect that with labor 4.0, which comes from education 4.0. There are several skills that are required. There are also essential skill maps that can be done, whether it's engineering, data science, or product or marketing. You need business skills, you need technical skills, you need data skills that connect you with the industry, and therefore those skills must become a part of the curriculum that the universities design. Obviously the low skilled jobs are being killed, and the pyramid like structure is collapsing into something that is more straight, and therefore the low end skills and large number required at the bottom is no longer true. You need even higher order skills even at the bottom. So therefore, again, the education system must take this into consideration. So technology is obviously the driver, and a lot of initiatives within the NEP are available to promote technology. But I would only look at one part. Our education and industry is disconnected in some sense. So we need to relook at the this over dependence on publishing papers and so on, and come back to relating that to some useful productization that must happen through our universities, our institutions, our IITs, NITs, and so on. So therefore, we must look at the German model, where they use a Max Planck Society and set up institutions which do basic research. And then there are Fraunhofer Society, which also sets up institutions to look at applied science, and predominantly looking at productization and so on. It's not so much as producing a paper. I mean, we have very good researchers, we have very good people within our universities who move with the best of the people around the world and produce best of the papers, but it hardly connects with the industry. So therefore, instead of focusing on merely publishing a paper, let's assume we need products. Go and connect with the society, connect with the industry, connect with the outside world, bring in ideas and push them through the university systems, like a Fraunhofer model does. And then we will connect our Make in India, Startup India, our Atmanirbharta program that people are talking about today. All these things will gel together, and then we'll probably do justice to what we have really written within the NEP. Finally, it's the National Skill Qualification Framework, NSQF, which must be completely integrated with the education system, and our institutions must be institutionalized to accommodate skill building. Today, somehow these two are completely disconnected, and therefore we keep talking about people coming out without skills and so on. So therefore, revamping is a great idea. No longer for example, today's computer company can manufacture components in China, assemble them in Mexico, ship them to Europe, and service the purchases from call centers in India. So let's look at using the credit bank concept to actually get a mathematics, a physics from a Punjab University, a mathematics from TIFR, chemistry from IISc, astronomy course from maybe Aryabhatta Research Institution, and maybe an artificial intelligence from IIT Hyderabad, and so on, and all put together to create a career in astrophysics through a medium of virtual university. Now, all these things are possible within the NEP, and we must make our effort in looking at these possibilities, opportunities that we have within NEP, and then there is nothing to look back. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We understood the importance of this gross enrollment ratio, and we also understood the importance of integrating skills and education. And you also has addressed the challenge of flexibility of learning owing to exits. It should also address the challenges of employability. And you have rightly said that Industry 4.0 is an action, whereas the society and education are not to that level. I think Ramakant sir and Sanjeev sir will address, throw more light on these areas. Now I request Apparao sir, Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad. Sir is an Indian scientist, educator, and currently the Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad. He was awarded the Millennium Plaques of Honor for his achievements in life sciences by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi Garu, in 2017. We would like to keep our introductions short so that can listen more about NEP. Sir, it's over to you, sir, for your views.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and good morning to everybody there. And at the outset, I would like to thank the principal, Dr. Dhananjay Naidu Garu, for inviting me to join on this panel discussion today. And I would like to also greet my fellow panelists on this NEP 2020. Professor Mantha is known to me, and Professor Subramaniam, I know him indirectly. His father is a renowned scientist, and I have closely worked with him, and that's how I know Professor Subramaniam. And I also would like to greet Sanjeev Mehtaji and Ramakant Desai on this panel. And I think most of the things are either presented in the initial presentation or are made as observations by Professor Mantha. One thing important for us is that there is a policy that has been brought in, and a policy, probably a delayed one, something which got delayed. I always felt that several things that we have in the policy are very good ones. And the concerns are, some of the concerns Professor Mantha has raised, and maybe one or two I may add to the concerns of that. And most of them will revolve around implementation part of it. And my major observation I would like to bring to our participants here, and for the panel to also consider, is the several of the institutions that we have today. For example, you take best of the institutions. We know how we are talking about best of the institutions and all that. The best of the institutions have already been practicing several of the things that are listed in the policy. For example, the choice given to the students, the flexibility given to the students to shift from one course to another course. Some of these things are already there, and we allow them to take a course in another institution, allow them to take a project work in another institution. These practices are already there, and mostly because of such practices, these institutions have become good. So the intent in the NEP to bring all such things for a country as a whole is welcome. That is to see that the smaller institutions, less privileged institutions, if they can emulate these good practices that are followed in the best of the institutions that we have in the country. We have several of them. It's not that we have just one or two. We have several of them which could be role models for several of these small institutions. Unfortunately, these small institutions have serious constraints for them to emulate, for them to take this path. If we have to list that our focus of our discussion will deviate. We are all familiar with the difficulties that those people face. Say, for example, the policy as such has to be implemented jointly by the state and central governments. We can't leave out because it is a subject of both state and the center. We can't leave out the states here. And when it comes to state, there are serious problems in most of the states in terms of how the higher education is being treated. I cannot accept the difficulties that the governments may talk about, but the intent is not visible from the government side to make any improvement in those institutions. With that kind of an attitude, it is going to be not so easy for us to expect the fruits of this well-drafted national education policy to be realized by the country. This is one important concern that I have as the involvement of both the state and center. And when it comes to center itself, as Professor Mantha has pointed out, the GDP that we are talking, any institution, in public institution, like countries like India, the expectations from the society is more. Everything they would like to have the best of it at no cost. That is something which the government has to realize. And how long and how many institutions they can set up, how many they can support, how many they can do is a big question. And if the projected 4 to 6%, what we have already talked and has been observed, observation was made by Professor Mantha, it never crossed 2.5% as of now. And when it will reach that 4, when it will reach to 6, and when it will go beyond 6 is something which the government has to seriously deliberate on and strategize as to how this kind of an investment on education should be taken forward to realize the benefits of the new education policy. In between, I forgot to mention one thing. I must congratulate Vignan Jyoti for the Silver Jubilee that they are celebrating. An institution which has earned its own name for, at least I would say, in the state of Telangana today. When in the combined state also, it was having its own reputation. And in the now restricted to Telangana state, it has its own reputation. And we have, when I said some good institutions, I have in mind the institutions starting from IITs like NITs to some of the central universities and some ICERs and all these are there. And some of these institutions also in their own capacity, they have been contributing significantly for the higher education. And the problem here, another important thing that has to be emphasized through the process of implementation is the quality. Any aspect that we talk, be it the design of the course, or be it the quality of delivery, the pedagogy, and the kind of infrastructure that we provide for the learner. These are very crucial, and all of them have to be uncompromised in terms of quality. How many of our institutions are geared up to give that kind of a quality infrastructure, quality teaching methodologies, and quality teachers who can design the course? This is a serious issue that the national education policy has to carefully address during the implementation process. Unless we have the courses designed, everything is centered around how you have designed the course. This is where the institutions differ. Say any institution which we are recognizing one institution as good is more because of the quality of the content that they are able to design and then deliver, and also evaluation mechanisms, of course. These are very important for us, and in the policy implementation, these must be taken into consideration. And another point that I would like to touch upon is the internationalization that we are looking at. I'm not too sure when we will have the kind of a situation what we had for Nalanda and Takshashila kind of demand for the institutions. We will not be able to, because we need to cater to our own people, a large number of people, give them a high quality education here. And when globally there are several institutions available, it may not be easy for us to attract as many as international people. But if it is to make it more and more of mixing with international community and working, I would say that is going to help us help the Indian education better, rather than looking at only one side movement. We must have students from the other side, and if we are targeting students from the West, it is not going to be that easy for us to achieve. Yes, we can cater to some of the countries where maybe East to some extent we may be able to attract, but it is not going to be that easy to internationalize, to look at those numbers increasing. These are some concerns. Last, I would mention, because there are other panelists, we would like to listen to them. And also, we will have some opportunity to take some questions and then discuss also. The autonomy of the institutions, what is there on paper, has to be allowed in letter and spirit. If it is allowed in letter and spirit, that is what has made the good institutions. If we are talking about having board of governors for the institutions today, we are acknowledging on one side that the IITs have done well and IIMs have done well because they have the board of governors who are independent and who are able to think about what is good for an institution. So autonomy on paper is something, and autonomy in letter and spirit is the most important thing that is required. So the government, the Ministry of Education, already a proposal that has been made has been immediately implemented by the ministry. MHRD has been renamed as Ministry of Education, and all other things have to follow now. But when we allow, and we have seen, and all of us, with hardly any exceptions, we have seen, when you give greater autonomy, there is increased accountability, and that accountability has brought so much of good for the country. So we have to believe in that autonomy and allow this to happen, and allow the things to be implemented by the institutions, by the independent board of governors. I think I will, right now I will leave it there. If in a second round, if I get a chance, I will add something more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us about the important practices of NEP and few important concerns to be addressed, such as internationalization of education and autonomy of the institutions, number of institutions to be set up and to be supported and to be deliberated by the government to reach the GDP of 6%. You also highlighted on the need to have quality teachers, infrastructure, and quality education while implementing the policy. Now, I take the privilege in introducing our next panelist, Sri Ramakant Desai to you all. He was Senior VP at Wipro, looking at business strategy and global sales operation. He also worked as CEO of IT services business at Happiest Minds Technologies. Currently, he is convener of Bangalore FinTech Forum, chairperson for Asocham Healthcare Initiative in Karnataka, a corporate advisor and independent management consultant. He also served as president and CEO at Happiest Mind Technologies. With these few words of introduction, I welcome Ramakant Desai and request him to share his views.
Thank you, Mr. Saha. And
Thank you.
good morning to all the participants, and as well as the co-panelists. And special thanks to my friend, Mr. C.G. Naidu, who was my senior in the college. So already the earlier panelists addressed the issues of enrollment, employability, and certain amount of autonomy and regulation aspects. Okay, I would like to focus on a few things, which is around the linkages between the primary education and the higher education. Most of the, even in fact, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who was the chairman of the NEP committee, he said that 86% of the brain is formed by the time a person is of 8 institutes. Okay, so and unfortunately, 40 to 50% of the children, do not have full nourishment in the home. Okay, in India, and by the time they come to school, even though they are being supported through programs like midday meal program and others, I don't know how much of nourishment of the brain is happening. So to that extent, there are some initiatives which are introduced in the NEP, and I was quite happy to see those initiatives, because ultimately it is the brain formed at the young age which is going to influence the thinking at a later age. Okay, there's the fundamental growth aspect. And then coming to higher education, which is where the most of the audience will be interested in, I think we should develop global benchmarks. What do I mean by global benchmarks? If you look at the way the NEP is structured now, the most of the up to K+12, that is up to 12th grade, they have tried to take some of the principles from the schooling education in US. If you look at the higher education, they have tried to take the structuring model from China. Okay, interdisciplinary aspect again from US. Okay, things like that. But is there a better benchmarking? Yes, answer is yes. If you ask me, for research, Israel is the benchmark. For industry to academia collaboration, Germany is the benchmark. Okay, for pure scientific temper and development of advanced technology initiatives, obviously, US is the benchmark. And if you look at China, vocational education is the benchmark. Okay, vocational, I don't know where there is some noise. Maybe my mobile is creating a problem, I think. Is it better now?
Yeah, doable.
Okay. Okay. So if you look at, say, for example, let us take the Germany model, which Mr. Mantha referred to. Okay. There, the middle sector, SME sector, contributes almost 50% of the global, 50% of their GDP, and almost 60% of their exports. And they have a trade surplus of $300 billion, out of which SME contributes the maximum. And there are a lot of global leaders in the SME sector. And there is a nice interaction between the academia and the SME sector. And 30% of the companies come out with 20 to 30 new products every year. Okay, now let us look at India. In India also there are around about 6 crore SMEs, and they employ 12 crore people. But unfortunately, no innovation happens there. They're mostly trading, and to a certain extent, some of them are slightly evolved. But how do we bring a lot more academic research, more SME oriented? Because SME employs the largest sector in India and contributes to significantly to the GDP even in India, around about 27 to 30%. Okay, and substantial amount of exports as well. So I think strengthening SME sector through the higher education should be one of the goals, and I think some linkages have to form. Okay, I don't see that very well addressed in the NEP. The second aspect, if I look at it, vocational education has not got enough importance, though it should get more importance. If you look at China, okay, China also has 2,000 universities. Top 100 universities are research focused, like what NEP is trying to achieve. They say top 200 universities will be research focused, and they also have around about next 40%, which are more both research as well as teaching. Whereas the bottom, another 50% of the universities are focused extremely on vocational education. Okay, and it is the vocational educations which are going to give jobs, because we are adding almost 1 crore of people to the workforce every year. If you are adding 1 crore of people to the workforce every year and you are hardly generating 15 lakhs per annum today, there is a gap of 85 lakh people who are being left out of the system. Okay, I think that is that's a number one problem to be addressed. Like Mantha mentioned, the employability of the people who are coming out. In fact, there is one employment survey which was done recently. They said hardly 40% of the graduates are employable and 50% of engineers are not employed today. Okay, so if you look at that, means 60% of the graduates who are coming out of the 900 Indian universities are not employable at all. Forget employment. Okay, if they are not employable. Now we are talking about entrepreneurs. Okay, now from job seeker to job creator, the universities have to encourage a lot more of entrepreneurship qualities in the education system. They have talked about a little bit of interdisciplinary, which is good. Okay, and there are a few other issues around implementation which they have not addressed. For example, they don't have an SAT equivalent mechanism. Okay, and if they don't have an SAT equivalent mechanism, how are they going to increase the quality of admissions to universities? I don't know. They're also talking about 900 universities and 40,000 colleges to be consolidated to 15,000 institutions. If they're going to consolidate, how are they going to consolidate? What are the principles of consolidation? We don't know. Again, will it affect the enrollment ratio? We don't know. And then the third aspect in that, again, is that there are a lot of almost 280 universities are in the private sector today. Only 280 universities are in the, under state governments. And there are around about 200 institutes of central universities and institutes of national importance, and etc., etc. Okay, so now how are you going to get the 280 private universities to align with the goals you are planning to design? Okay, these are, and there are also single discipline focused colleges. Okay, how are you going to make them multidiscipline? Some of these, engagement issues have not been comprehensively addressed. I hope that the regulatory bodies, which they have mentioned, the standards committees and the grants commission and the NIAC, etc., are going to go for a period of, next 5 years. Okay, now just coming back again to the point which I was trying to mention, industry and employability, metrics. If you look at the China top bottom 50% of, not bottom 50%, 50% of the universities are focused on vocational education. So now, how are you going to make 700 universities of ours, which are in liberal arts and plus science, give a lot more focus on vocational as well? Because ultimately, employability is there through vocational education. Can I have 1 year course in accounting? Can I have 1 year course in e-commerce? Can I have half a year course in insurance? Can I have half a year course in welding and carpenting and computer integrated manufacturing? I think these are the places where the jobs are going to be created. And unless otherwise there is a lot more focus on that, I think it's going to be a challenge. Okay, and coming to the collaboration perspective, which many people have asked about, I have divided the career of a professional into 3 segments. Okay, which is 1 to 7 years, 7 to 14 years, and 14 to 25 years. Okay. Now, in the 1 to 7 years, most of the universities are producing skills which are required for 1 to 7 years. This skills required for 7 to 14 years, which is like more output orientation, being organized, leadership, the speed aspect of it, the communication skills, they are not being addressed. And I hope certain amount of it gets addressed in NEP. Otherwise, I think universities have to step up with the autonomy to see how they can address these mid-level management skills and mid-level output-oriented skills which are required for the professionals. And then the next level is 14 to 25 years, where you need more general knowledge of the industry, communication skills, writing skills especially, negotiation skills, focus on excellence, okay, and a certain amount of business finance knowledge, work ethics. Okay, I think these are all extremely important skills at the higher management levels. Okay, I think the universities also will have to step up and design courses in collaboration with the industry to see how they can address to one. Right now, they are addressing 1 to 7 years. Can they address 7 to 14 years requirement, 14 to 25 years requirement? Okay, this is one thing which they need to look at. For example, we had a challenge in most of the corporate sectors. They have their own, management, small training institutes which they keep addressing. But they'll be quite happy to outsource this to institutions if they are ready to do. Like, for example, at Wipro, we outsourced the entire fresher training, undergraduate fresher training to BITS Pilani, because BITS Pilani stepped up and said, hey, we are going to take some, 1,500 of your fresh graduates, BScs, BComs, and we are going to train them for 3 years in an MS program, and they are going to be employed with you. So we designed a 4 to 5 year program along with BITS Pilani, so that we absorb undergraduates, but they work within the company for almost 4 days a week, and last 2 days they spend with BITS Pilani. So it became an integrated model. Like Germany has that integrated model very beautifully. Okay, so I think the universities can step up and say, we will take out some of your training needs. Okay, and let us design integrated curriculum for your needs, so that industry and academia are a lot more integrated. And then the second suggestion I have from an industry perspective, from an internship perspective, most of the universities have a problem of internship because there are not enough corporate sectors to offer internships to the fresh graduates who are passing out. Because in the education policy also document, they also talk about how more industrial activity has to be encouraged, etc., especially technical education. I suggest some 10-15 colleges come together and set up internship centers, okay? And there are quite a few professionals who are passing out of the corporate now, who complete their careers at the age of 50, 55 and all. They'll be quite happy to come and man these integrated centers, okay? and they will be the communication channel between the industry and the academia to get the problems of the industry for the internships. What will that happen? First of all, the undergraduates or graduates who are doing their 4-year, 5-year program, they get to understand the industry language much better because they are working with industry veterans with 25 years experience. And one college cannot afford it. More than 10 to 15 colleges of similar nature have to come together and make an integrated investment along with some industry bodies like FICCI and ASSOCHAM or say NASCOM and things like that. So that way what will happen is the industry academic interaction will become a lot more. And then the last problem, which I think we have, as a society, we have created, I don't know how to correct it. They have done a lot of good, this China problem. What do we call as China problem? All the people in Telangana, Andhra understand this China problem. It is called Chaitanya and Narayana problem. Okay? Chaitanya and Narayana, they have done a great service. There are similar institutes in every state now. Okay? There is no point in pointing finger only at Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Okay, every state has. These China institutions have done rote learning a factory model, number one. Okay, and number two, what also they have done is, unfortunately, they have taken the schooling out of the school. They have taken the school out of the student, which is very unfortunate. Okay, a school meant extracurricular activities, public speaking abilities, interacting with students, interacting with lot of integrated approach was there in a school. Now the school has been taken out of the students, which is extremely unfortunate. I hope the regulators, which they are putting for the Board of Education, they try to regulate these institutions, okay, lot more and bring them into the mainstream, because you cannot take away the perception they have created. You cannot take away the enrollment they have. How do you integrate them and regulate them so that their output is useful to the country is what we need to think through. And unfortunately, I forgot one more point to mention in the research and the industry and the industry academic interaction. Okay, if you look at Israel, what they have done, for example, there is a university called Hebrew University. Most of you will be knowing. Okay, they have spun off a initiative called ECM. Okay, what does ECM do? It is an academia industria initiative together. They spin off 5 companies every year, okay? And they have spun off around about 100 plus unicorn companies with 3 to 5% stake. But this is a university initiative. They work with industry closely, and this, you can call it accelerator or whatever it is, but it's a beautiful thing working out, because there, the defense investments which are going into R&D and the industry needs and the output of the university are coming together. And Israel has 30 innovation clusters, okay, across various universities. Such a small country produces 700 research papers per lakh of people, whereas India produces 20 research papers per lakh of people. Even China is producing 100 research papers. Okay, it's very unfortunate that we produce such low quantum of research as well as quality of research. I think the Indian research has to be more oriented towards the country needs, okay, which is missing again. We take some problems defined by some professors in the West and try to work on it. Hopefully the NRF addresses this, because they are allocating huge money, 20,000 crores, okay, which is not a small amount. Hopefully that 20,000 crores get funded into initiatives which are in the India related problems, and hopefully the research will be better. Okay, and I'm sorry if I'm taking one more minute, please excuse me, Kanchana, for that. Okay, another important aspect which has been addressed in the national education policy is essentially the adult education, which is extremely important. Adults learn in a different way compared to youngsters. Okay, the adult learning patterns are different. The adult needs are different. So I think the focus on online education and more pushing of online education, can help a lot more of adult learning, because adults don't have patience to sit for 6 months and do a course. If you can come up with 1-week capsule courses, 2-week capsule courses, and maybe a series of such courses will give them a diploma at the end of, say, 2 or 3 years. Okay, say 30 1-week courses over a period of 3 years. Okay, I think adults will be able to learn better, and I think we should leverage technology to it in a big way. I would like to stop here, though I had some more points to make around Industry 4.0. Okay, I would request other panelists to make some points, and maybe we'll answer some of the other things in the question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Ramakant Desai Garu, for enlightening us on global benchmarks for higher education, taking models from USA and China, and importance of vocational education, then research-based education for employability. Now, I take pleasure in inviting Sri Kollur VL Subramaniam Garu, Professor of Civil Engineering, IIT Hyderabad. Sri Kollur VL Subramaniam Garu has obtained his PhD in Civil Engineering from Northwestern University, USA. He was awarded Outstanding Young Researcher Award by Grove School of Engineering, New York in 2006. He was given Teaching Excellence Award by IIT Hyderabad in 2011 and also in 2016. He was elected fellow at the American Concrete Institute in 2010, and he has given N. Subbarao Endowment Lecture at Indian Concrete Institute in 2016. With these few words of introduction, I request Sri Professor Kollur VL Subramaniam Garu to share his views.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Naidu for inviting me on this panel. It's indeed an honor to be sharing the virtual dais with my co-panelists who are all luminaries in their own areas of research, education, and industry. So it's indeed a very a focused discussion we are having here with points of view being presented from different perspectives, which will help us gain an understanding as to what this new education policy means for different stakeholders. Now, I think all of us have read the NEP document, and each one of us walks away with our own perspective. So I'm probably going to present my own perspective on the NEP document, and of course, my own things I feel are shortcomings there. So, and I'll try not to echo what has already been said by my esteemed co-panelists. So one of the things I'd like to mention, and I think this is something that is key, as I read the document, I got the sense that the key takeaway is the focus on three things. One is learning, the second is access to learning, and the third is enhancing creative thinking. These are the three things that seem to be the backbone of this policy document. Now, how we enable it, what is to be done, that is where the implementation comes in. And I think Professor Apparao really hit it on the head when he talked about the implementation. But as a policy, I think it's a very bold policy where the broad outlines are very cleanly sketched out. And the contours are nicely laid out. Now we have to think about the implementation of this NEP and to make it really successful. And the whole point is a shift, a paradigm shift that we are seeing in this approach to education, where it is now being thought of not just as imparting education, but actually learning. How do we assess learning? And now not only are we talking about assessment of learning, we are actually looking at a holistic education system where we are looking at developing well-rounded individuals from our higher education system, whether it is universities or institutes of higher learning. So to that end, at least when I read, I got the sense, or when I tried to comprehend what is being proposed in the NEP, I got the sense that what to implement it, what we would need is a flexible curricular structure, which basically allows student the choice of subjects and also stages of learning. So these are bifurcated now. We are moving away from those rigid implementation system of 3-year programs, 4-year programs, where basically the structure is dictated by the institution. We are trying to move away from there to something that is suited to the learner, and the learner can now pace the learning and also the content. Now to implement that requires some, I think, critical thinking on part of educators, policymakers. All of us will have to sit and think through as to how do we make this vision a reality, because this is very, very challenging. I mean, there are things that are laid out in the policy document if you think about it. This word multidisciplinary keeps coming up again and again, and the whole point is that we want to break away the silos. I think Indian education system over the past 70 years post independence has moved into these vertical silos. We don't talk to each other. I come from academia, and I know that I'm sitting in a silo called engineering, and I rarely talk to my science colleagues or my colleagues in liberal arts or colleagues in other branches of the streams of education. And that I think has to be avoided. Now, if we have to develop a good comprehensive education policy, I think first thing that has to go is these silos. And I think this NEP document is taking a bold step in that direction, where they're emphasizing this, where they're emphasizing that those silos have to go, the compartmentalization has to go, which of course means that we have to move out of the mindset of a 4-year degree program or a 3-year degree program in one regimented area. We have to allow the person the ability to choose. Of course, implementation of it is going to be something that will require some careful thought amongst us academicians and policymakers to make that a reality. There is talk of multiple entry and exit points. This is all towards going towards creating flexibility in the system. Academic bank of credit. So these are all great ideas, and to a large extent, these have been borrowed from the existing systems. I think in the United States of America, to a large extent, a lot of these systems exist, where students are able to bank their credits. They're able to move around from one institution to another institution with ease, without losing much time. The compartmentalization does not exist as rigidly as it does in India. So I think to a large extent that from what I see is being modeled on that. Now, having said that, there's one thing I think that the previous discussion has missed, and that is the emphasis on liberal arts and soft arts. And this has become very, very important, particularly for those of us who are coming from engineering and science backgrounds. We all came up from in a regimented system where at a later day we rued the fact that we did not have a diverse background. When a lot of us went overseas for an education or for a degree, we realized that our compatriots from other countries were better prepared, not just technically, but they were better rounded persons. They were able to present themselves better. They were able to market an idea better, which we lacked. We could not organize our thoughts. At least that is the impression I had, that India produces good engineers and scientists, but we are lacking in the presentation. We're lacking in organization. We're lacking in this team building. We're lacking in this multidisciplinary thinking of realizing the requirement of involving other fields. And if you look at the way the progress is happening in different fields, we are now no longer working in vertical silos. We have to work across platforms, and that has to be enabled in our education system. It is a very, very complex problem when it comes to implementation, but I think we really need to sit and think through, and it is going to be radical if we can change and departure from the old system, if we can really think through the implementation. So that is one of the prime points that I wanted to make pertaining to NEP. Now, I just mentioned this as something of an experiment that we tried at IIT Hyderabad. And of course, we were able to do this because we had the autonomy to do so. Perhaps, as Professor Apparao mentioned, that a lot of colleges do not have the autonomy, so that structure has to be created. But if given the autonomy, you will see that automatically people are responsible in the use of autonomy, and you will see good products come out of this. Now, when we went around creating flexible systems, we at IIT Hyderabad created an education system called the fractal credit system, where we basically took our credit system, fractalized it, basically broke it up into small units, and we allowed the student the choice of pacing his or her learning. So the student decides at what pace he or she wants to learn, what combination of these credits does the student want to use towards his or her degree requirement. Now, this was a very radical step in education. We were pilloried for this when we introduced it, but it has been a remarkable success, where students have chosen subjects from diverse backgrounds, and they have come back and complimented us at the at this practice that was followed at IIT Hyderabad, which allowed them to expand into horizons which they would not have been in traditional institutional systems. So these are things that I think we can certainly think about when we are implementing this thing in the global scene. Of course, then implementation has to be thought through, like I said before, in a careful manner, because now we're talking pan-India, not just one institution. Just a few more things that I want to add. There is a renewed emphasis on research in the NEP document, and there are some institutions that are proposed. The one thing I do want to mention, and I think there has been in the past few years a lot of focus on very highly applied product-oriented research, which has its own value. I mean, we in India, we need good product-oriented research. We need to bring out products. We need to change our mindset. That is a given. But I believe in the process, we don't want to sacrifice the goose that lays the golden egg. I mean, the basic research component cannot be lagging behind. If today the top institutions in the world, be it MIT or be it Stanford or be it Cambridge, they are renowned for their basic research. Now, this is the blue sky research that that funding goes into without any tangible immediate output. But that is where I think we should have the gumption to put our money into this basic research, which may not have immediate dividends. And we should be able to commit money to that front. And this strengthening of basic research should be separated from the ecosystem for applied research. These have two different things, but we should not sacrifice the basic research component in trying to seek highly applied product-oriented research. The one thing that I do want to mention, and this has come up previously, is the ecosystem for entrepreneurship. I think this is something very, very important. Educational institutions have to be the cradles for entrepreneurship. We have to enable tools. We have to enable the support system for young entrepreneurs to come together. We have to provide them the platforms so that they can go. And this whole mindset of entrepreneurship amongst youngsters, of teaching them how to leap without a safety net. I think as a society, we Indians are very risk averse, and we have to get our students to think to leap without a safety net. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. And creating that confidence in them, to create that support structures that instills the confidence in them to take that step into entrepreneurship, to creating new organizations, which will basically change their mindset from becoming job seekers to thinking about job creators, becoming job creators. So I think these are things that we need to think about when it comes to the implementation of the NEP. The other things have already been discussed. I mean, we are talking about autonomy to colleges. We're talking about a graded system of implementation. Of course, there's talk of fully fledged multi-stream higher education institutions where single stream institutions will be phased out. So all of these are steps in the right direction. But I think in conclusion, in summary, what I'd like to say, I think it's as a policy outline, I think it's a very broad policy outline, which very clearly outlines the contours, which I think we have to think through on the implementation when it comes to higher education. So thank you for your attention. And I think we'll have the Q&A session later where we can take on more questions.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your expert sharing into NEP 2020. The key takeaways being learning, access to learning, enhancing skill development, and you have given your viewpoint towards the approach to learning and assessment, the importance of implementation, and emphasis on the liberal arts and science, and the importance of involving different fields of education into engineering and vice versa. And you have talked about the flexibility of autonomy and its important initiatives that it can do, and the importance of improving the basic skills, basic research to reach the higher research level. So thank you so much, sir. And it is my privilege to welcome the next panelist, Sanjeev Mehta Garu. He is currently an advisor and a head program development of IBM Innovation Center for Education, a member advisory board of Pune University Research Park Foundation, a member steering committee for implementation of the new education policy at Pune University, and a mentor at Pune University and corporate relations cell, and also a president at Bombay Amusement Rides. Postgraduate from School of Economics, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Sanjay Mehta Garu has nearly 40 years of experience in IT and other industries. Since then, on one hand, he is deeply involved with various higher education institutes, and on the other hand, he is also associated with startups, SMEs, and helping both the academia as well as the startups and SMEs in creating a greater future ready. As a core member of the initiative of the Change for Business, he is also focused on understanding the key business ethics and sustainability changes faced by CEOs and facilitating solutions to this kind of problems through various initiatives and programs. Thank you so much, sir, for being here on the panel discussion today. And I would welcome you to share your viewpoints on the NEP 2020 higher education.
Thank you very much. First of all, a brief audibility test. Am I audible to all? Yeah. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you are.
So the advantage of being the last person, the panelists are very few. I came with a list of points, and by the time of the fourth panelist, anything and everything I had to speak was gone. So I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, right? Thank you very much for enlightened views from the previous panelist. I actually, I had the pleasure of, I've been interacting with Dr. Kasturi Rangan very intently for the last few months. And on 18th of this month, I had the pleasure of addressing about 1,000 heads of institutions, the vice chancellors across the country. And I would like to take a different take on this entire thing, First of all, I would say, look, let's divide the entire thing as per the policy is concerned. Now, policy, commenting on policy and well, how the policy will ultimately get implemented from what has been approved from cabinet is one aspect, right? The second aspect is that, look, there are certain things that are very crystal clear that this is going to happen. As my previous fellow panelists mentioned, I think we are moving from STEM to STEAM. That's the way to go, right? I think there have been enough evidences that STEM, while it created a halo around itself, right? It has been proven that STEAM is far more applied in terms of results and application. We talked about a lot of research papers. Yes, probably on the research papers, we are the 5th in the country, right? When it comes to applied research, we are somewhere around 54th in the world, right? So I think one thing which this policy talks about is moving away from STEM to STEAM. Second aspect, which I think one of my fellow panelists talked about, this policy is highly focused on research. There is going to be there's an intent to create about 100 top research institutes in the country. The third aspect was, which probably was touched upon by my fellow panelists, is a very clear intent to bring top 100 universities in the world here. Now that is something which is probably an opportunity, also a threat, right? So I would not like to get involved in that. I would like to say, look, each one of us probably can go through the policy document. What is important is, what are we doing about it? Today, is there a doubt in our mind that this policy is going to be implemented in due course of time, in 6 months or 1 year or 2 years? There are very clear action points which we need to take. The reality is just 6 months or 1.5 or 2 years. That's a system which will, because we all know that education is a concurrent system. It will take some time for that to happen, get implemented. But from a legacy system, let me use the word legacy system of education, where we are operating in a certain way where there was a limited administrative autonomy, there was a limited financial autonomy. Okay, we are talking about now a reasonable autonomy. When Dr. Kasturi was mentioning that, yes, board of governors is the way to go, right? Board of, like IISc or IITs, that is a reality that is very clearly been mentioned. So if we are operating last 30-40 years in a certain system, we have to transition to the new system. Are we going to say, let the policy get implemented at the state level and let me see? Or we say, yes, we know the changes are coming. We know that policies are going to be implemented next 12 to 18 months. Let me take those actions which are crystal clear. when we know that international universities are going to come, when we know that, yes, whether 2.4 to 6% GDP is going to happen or not, right? Time will tell. Another important part of the policy is that in the new policy, as for the public funding is concerned, the private institutes and government institutes shall be taken up at the same level, which means the kind of it'll all based on the quality of our projects we submit, which will decide whether we get public funding or not. Right? What my request to the audience and the institute itself is that there are 3 to 4 points which are very, very crystal clear that they are going to get implemented. Maybe what you can do is you can have one group which connects with the authorities at central and state level, which will keep on discussing and debating how the policy should be further fine-tuned. A. B. On the university side, the institute side, create an implementation group. In Pune University, we have involved the industrialists, we have involved the leading education in the country. We have a huge panel of about 20-30 people, which is going, and the society, stakeholders, NGOs, right? And we already are moving very fast forward. And so again, Pune University is a public state university, right? So make sure you have different teams. Focus on the implementation now. The time for debate or the place for debate is different. The team for debate is different. The team for implementation has to be different. That's one. Second aspect, right? Today we talk about research. We talked about industry collaboration. Why should industry is very, they are very ROI centric. Why are today industries falling over each other to connect with IITs or ISCs? Let's look at that. Industry is going to look at applied research. Industry is going to look at what is in it for them. And there's nothing wrong in that. What are we doing towards that? What is the kind of collaboration we're looking for industry? So I don't want to take much time. I have very, very crystal clear suggestions to the audience and the institute per se, right? Have separate teams. If you feel that debating till cows come home with the authorities on the policies is one action point, create a separate team for that. There's a crystal clear 5-6 points which are going to get implemented come what may. Have an implementation team in that. In the implementation team, have stakeholders from society, NGOs, industrialists from the neighborhood, other academicians. Get an implementation team. In university, in Pune University, we are also looking at the stakeholder, the most important stakeholder, the students, the faculties. Involve them, get an implementation plan on that, and create subcommittees. This changes from 30 to 40 years. See, NEP has been around, the discussion has been around for 5 years. And we all know, as Indians, we love to debate, right? We can keep on discussing for the next 3 years and make sure NEP is not implemented, but that's not going to happen. We know for a reality, in next 12 to 18 months, this shall get implemented. We also know that for us to move from the old system to the new system and making sure all stakeholders have a complete buy-in is a huge task. Let us work on that. I can tell you, I'm already in touch with at least top 20 universities in the world, right? They're looking forward to come to India. So that's going to happen in 2 to 3 years. Are we going to wake up at that point of time? Or we start saying, okay, time to act is now. So as I said, 90% of the thing which I want, 95% of the thing I want to say has already been said by my more learned panelists, right? So I'm more action-oriented person. right? I would say that's exactly what we are doing at Pune University, right? I'm also advising some of the other universities. Let us focus on the implementation part and have few people who will keep on handling the debates, the Ministry of Education, for Secretary of Higher Education, etc., right? So that's all a few words I have to say. I would, sorry for being candid and forthright, but yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So you have enlightened us on the importance of shifting from STEM to STEAM. I think it's a need of the hour, and you also have suggested some action points, which as an institute, we are going to implement it very soon, sir. That is, one is that a group to deliberate and discuss the policy with the government agencies. And the second one is the implementation group. And we should have a group of industrialists, NGOs, academicians and stakeholders. That's really a nice suggestion, sir. And you also said that industry, the focus on applied research is always very good, and students also have to be in line with this thing. Thank you very much, sir. We thank all the panelists, okay, for sharing their perspectives with us. It is very important to look at perspectives. That is what is paradigm shift. Now we will move on to a very quick question and answer session. We request the audience, if you have any question, you can unmute and you can ask a question, sir. Madam or sir, if you have a question, please ask your question. Please mention the question and also the panelists whom you want to answer your question. In the meanwhile, we have a question, sir. We have received a set of questions from our faculty at Vienna VJIET. So one question asked by our faculty is for Subramaniam, sir. Sir, as you have rightly mentioned, the blurring of lines between liberal arts and sciences is the modern workplace demands new age skills. Do you think that we can achieve it in the future, sir?
We certainly can, and we have to. The fact is that we have to broaden our education, the base of our education system. We have moved into a silo-based system, which will not do. We have to broaden it, and which means that we have to bring in other areas. It's come to a point where if you look at curricula of engineering or sciences across India, we have become narrower. That's how we are going. And I think we need a broad base. I think at the bachelor's level, we have to broaden the base. If it means adding one more year to the science curriculum, so be it. If it means maybe adding a little bit more time to engineering entire degree program, so be it. But I think that is absolutely required, because it's all about inducing this spirit of creativity. It's all about bringing that extra fourth, the fifth dimension into thinking of individuals. It's all about making well-rounded engineers, scientists, and graduates. So I think these are absolutely essential. Yes, we have to integrate these into our curricula, which means that these boundaries have to go. We as faculty also have to learn to appreciate other areas and try to bring them or collaborate with them in research, try to basically work with them, and also look at our curriculum, where we have to look at implementing some of these things. Yes.
May I add one more point? Can I add one thing here?
Please, sir.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
So I keep saying, whenever we in a city, you have a traffic problems in the roads, you ask an engineer will say, let's widen the roads, right? And you ask a business management guy, he said, let's have a traffic management system. So I agree with what sir said, right? Unless we move from STEM to STEAM, right, we would have such a narrow perspective of solutions, which are not practical for the world. Please carry.
Yes, sir. That's true that we have to come up with problems which are going to address the society at large. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sanjeev, sir, and Subramaniam, sir.
Sir, I have a question. This question is to Ramakant, sir. How prominent is the vocational education and its role in terms of employment?
Actually, when we, all of us have been glued into this urban world quite a bit. Unfortunately, there is a 600 to 700 million rural and semi-urban population in the country who are also aspirants for jobs. Okay, and out of that 700, 600 million people, okay, how do you provide jobs? Okay, you can't make everybody a professor in IIIT. You can't make everybody a top-notch engineer or a research fellow in IBM. Okay, so there is not only there, I mean, even in urban settings also. So I think there is a still need for providing employment for those 60 to 70 lakh people who are outside the framework. Okay, and the vocational skills are the best way. Okay, if I can teach them carpentry, if I can teach them electrical work in a network, otherwise what are they doing? They go and work with some local electrician. They learn few things, they don't learn few things. Their feedback never goes into the product design. Okay, if you bring them into the formal system and allow a kind of, in fact, there is in the new educational policy what is called as BVoc, Bachelor of Vocational Education, which I think is a very good thing if you ask me. Okay, they need a little bit of improvement of their communication skills. They need a bit of writing skills. They need a bit of negotiation skills. Okay, at the same time, they should also know that there is a need for progressing their own skills. Can I become from a carpenter of a simple table to a kind of a design architect for an interior designer? So there is a progression path for them as well. Okay, so to me, I think vocational skills are extremely important, and in India, almost 55% is a services-oriented economy. Let us not run away from that. Okay, so if you look at the latest GDP figures, why they have fallen much more compared to other countries? Like say we had a dip of -26% and -10% this quarter, only because we are a predominantly services economy. Okay, and services have taken the biggest hit now in the pandemic time, because all the carpenters could not do their work, all the electricians could not do work, barbers lost their jobs, things like that. So how can we professionalize some of these skills is extremely important. And you can't ignore 200 to 300 million youth in that. Okay, so vocational education and bringing them into the mainstream, and then give them other flavors of natural aesthetic skills, creative skills is also important, because they can build their own businesses instead of working for a small trader. He can build his own kind of a thing and get it to the next level. That's how Germany has developed. Germany today has got around about 35 lakh mid-sized sectors. Okay, and they contribute 50% of Germany's GDP, which is huge in my view. And they come out with 20, 30 new products. If the electrician who comes to your house, okay, if he is given the design skills, he will design a better plug for you day after tomorrow. I'm telling you honestly, because he takes customer feedback. Yesterday I was searching for an UPS for my router. I could not find one good UPS for router. Okay, what was the requirement was 12 or 3 amperes router. There is only one manufacturer in Bangalore who does that. Imagine, and he's charging 2,000 bucks. The entire product should not cost more than 300 rupees. Okay. What I meant was that if we kind of give additional skills to these vocational professionals, I think India will be a much better place.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Dr. Here, some comment on research. So we talked about research, two aspects of it, blue sky research and applied research. And if you look at India's position, we are mostly a service-oriented economy, and most of the GDP is coming from services. That is true. But we should run away from that, because most of the income and the GDP will increase if product development takes place. So most patents have to be registered, awarded, and commercialized, and produced and marketed all over the world. Then only we can win. This new educational policy should take both the views. So one is the long-term plan to improve our basic research, and immediate plan for applied research to bring the product into market and improve the economy. So this is my standpoint.
Yes, sir. This is Jyotsna from BNR VJIT. I have a question, sir. When we are talking about, this is a general question, when we are talking about these entry and exit things, what is the interconnectedness of various phases of education, and how this will enable the continuity, coherence, and processes wherein there will be an end-to-end roadmap related to the education? This is an open question, sir. Anybody can answer.
I think this is like the famous drop catch in IPL, last IPL, where 3 players went for the ball and eventually everybody backed off at the last minute. So all the panelists are kind of looking at each other because this is not an easy question to answer. I mean, this is, and that the devil lies in the detail. And I think you've hit it on the head. It is easy to conceptualize a system of what you want an ideal system to be, and implementation of it is what we really have to think through. And your question is absolutely on the point when it comes to the fact, how do we maintain coherence, and how do we basically give it some semblance of adhering to some line. So that does require some thinking, where we have to look at, first of course, there's these credit banks that are thought of. So we put all the credits in a credit bank, and then we recognize that certain number of credits in a certain area of specialization qualify for a certain degree. So I think that is the approach that we'll likely have to take. But the coherence comes from the fact that I may have a credit bank where I have close to 200 credits that are banked in different areas. And I can take selectively now a few credits from there and apply it towards a degree of my liking. So that system has to be enabled for what is being talked about, for that to become reality.
Yeah, I would like to add 2 more points there. The National Education Policy talks about data repositories of students, the credits, etc., etc. So it is very important that they create that information repository. Okay, if not very soon, but at least gradually over the next 3 years. Unless that information management system is there, the administration of these systems is going to be a little bit challenging, because they are also talking about university to university transfer and other things.
Right, sir.
So very nice, sir. Good afternoon, sir. This is Dr. Ajay Kumar. Sir, I have one question. Though we have developed these policies, but unless the education is not just to earn money, and education is actually make us a good human being, how this policy can really bring transformation by doing so many new things into this policy? Because I'm seeing now the entire demand is there in engineering for the data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning. So everybody is going towards that one because there is a lot of scope of money is there. So even if you implement so many aspects now, exit and out and all, so if it is entirely gone for earning money, not for becoming a good human, how really this policy will help?
Again, I think you have the same IPL situation, or so. Let me take that if it's okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, let me put this way. And let's face some harsh realities. We are, till yesterday, we were a third world country. Okay, the need for any parent or student is to make sure that somehow you get the job. I keep on getting discussion in the various panels that yes, we should be job creators than job seekers. Believe you me, except for a few IITs and all that, 98% remains job seekers. Right now, that's nothing the policy issue. It's how the society evolves over a period of time. Right, and evolution of society also has to do with the economic status of the society. Right, the more developed countries, the more support system the policy has. Right, wherein you have the freedom to take risks. Right, you are talking about universal basic incomes and so many other things and all that. Right, so I think we are too far away where a single policy can change the mindset of the entire society, and we say, okay, we will become job creators and job seekers, or it should not be focused on employment and then better human beings. When the basic necessity of human beings is survival and economic need. Right, till that time that is not addressed. Yes, I'm not saying the policy will not be a catalyst, but policy is not going to transition society overnight, right, to that situation. Right, there are a lot of other aspects which will make sure that we catapult. There's no catapult happening here. It will be a gradual shift over the next few decades which will be achieved. That's my take. I think we have other more learned panelists on the table who can probably pitch in. That's my 2 cents on this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for answering the question. Sir, we have a question for Mantha, sir, from Rana Banerjee Garu. So, to implement NEP 2020, we need support of teachers and staff. How to change the mindset of senior teachers who are following the old methodology?
See, no, I mean, there was a question before this, something to do with values and all that. Now the question is, no policy will ever, create a value system for you. I mean, it gives you certain pointers. And similarly, no policy can ever tell you how to, how you change your mindset and things like that. It's a question of how much discipline you have in your own work profile, even in small things like where if there is a need to get up at 5 o'clock, do your, basic requirements, go through your basic requirements, then go exercise your body and things like that, and then get into the day's work. These are things which must happen. They happen through a kind of practice. It happens through the kind of peers, the friends circle that you have, the kind of family you have, the kind of outlook to life you have, and so on. A policy does tell you, give you some pointers to how to reach a certain destination. Now, in order to reach that destination, you have to come out with your own set of value systems and practice them so that you do that. I mean, I know faculty when they were needed to get across much better to the students, they started using those presentations and so on. Now, I know faculty who have literally translated the entire book into a set of slides, and they go through that year after year, and so on. I mean, no policy, no booklet, or nothing would change, would help them to change those kind of things. So therefore, it's something to do with oneself, whether he is a teacher, whether he is at a school level or a college level or whatever. The mindset is something that they have to work around, create the environment in order to get into that mold of working, and then create a lot of and then have a lot of discipline on everything that happens in life, including the teaching part or including the work part of it, which happens within the university, within the institution, and so on. So ultimately, I would only say that all these things will happen if you have a control on your mind, control on your body, and control to some extent on the kind of environment that you create around you.
Very correctly said, sir. Very correctly said.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So it is.
Manjana madam, I have one question.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all of you, sir.
Sorry.
I have two questions, sir. First question is actually how to reduce the cost of higher education. Because I think is it affordable or not? Especially why the dropouts are there at higher education. Okay. In this connection, I think each one of us, I think we have to discuss about how to reduce the cost of education. I think Mantha sir already has rightly pointed out that if we can go for virtual learning or virtual universities, definitely we can reduce cost of education. So what is the, I think, suppose if you want to have some campus life, that we are going to miss it in case of virtual life, okay, virtual education. So in this connection, I think I request Manta sir or Subramanian Garu, you can see that how to reduce the cost of education. Okay, that is the most important. The second one is,
I think
yeah,
Apparao sir is also there, sir,
Apparao
for
sir.
answering the question.
Yeah, then the second one is the with regarding the research, sir. But everybody is talking about the research. Okay, how to improve the research, especially in case of either basic research or applied research, whatever it may be. So how to improve, because whatever that 20,000 crores, I think they are going to allot for National Research Foundation. Definitely, that is a good sign actually. But how they are going to distribute that money among all the institutions across the pan India? So these are the two questions, I think.
And adding to Chennakeshwar sir's questions, I have one more question to the panelists. That is, why scrap away MPhil degree? Because we are stressing on the research so much, and we already have almost north part of India that not many universities have MPhil already, and south only some universities provide MPhil, and we do not have any other postgraduate research degree. And why scrap away MPhil degree instead of adding some more initiatives in curriculum to improve our research knowledge and methodology and things like that? And I have also seen recent newspapers from 4 months ago which talks about Indian PhD holders, among which almost 80 to 90% could be invalid because they do not follow the proper methodologies. They do not have anything actually getting invented, and especially in terms of in the section of liberal arts and things like that. Therefore, if we are talking about increasing the quality of the research, why scrap away such degree?
Maybe I'll take a couple of minutes first to, in the reverse order, the MPhil, question that has come. I would like to suggest one thing. The MPhil program, well, when the rigor of the methodology has not been introduced into the PhD program, it was serving as a bridge course to learn, for somebody to get acquainted with research methodology, and then take, if somebody is more comfortable to carry out advanced research, they can move forward. That was the kind of a purpose that the MPhil was serving. That it has always it has become mandatory in all the institutions now to have a well-designed methodology course, be across the disciplines. It's not only for science, it's even for humanities or social sciences. We have the defined methodology courses, which has also spelt out essential components, what all should be there in that. If all the institutions that offer PhD programs religiously implement the methodology component of for the PhD programs, MPhil definitely is going to become redundant. And that way, the suggestion under coming through the NEP to drop an MPhil program, which may not really be serving the purpose in future, is something which we can accept it. And the other question that we are talking about, how to increase research and whether this money, government, I mean, I don't want to criticize the government this way, like they spell out some numbers. I don't know where those numbers and that get distributed and all. They do some exercise and then try to allocate to different disciplines. But research, I am concerned about that point. Is not everybody's cake. It is not that everybody has to do research. Unless you have a valid question to ask, unless you have the right kind of framework, and unless you have the right kind of environment to carry out research, one need not really see that I have to do research. Unfortunately, in the past, some of the assessments that are given, that are using research output of the teachers, has significantly diluted the research, the term research in the country. So one should be really careful when we are talking about taking a grant. Why should I be taking a grant? Why should I be asking for a grant? And it's not that it is the money, the grant is there for distribution. I'm not talking about 20,000, 30,000, whatever the number of thousands that the government is going to spend. One should be really careful about, and what is that tangible output? It could be tangible output when I say it need not be an application. Professor Subramaniam has rightly mentioned that there has to be a wonderful bifurcation between the basic research and also applied research. Yes, you decide where are you. Would you like to be in applied research? Yes, you be there. And you want to be in basic research, be there. No issues on that. But then do you have a right kind of a question to ask? Are you equipped to take up that? Is something you have to question yourself. When thousands of and maybe lakhs of research papers that have appeared in the last 10 years from the country, if we look at most of them, they don't even look like research papers. And people claim them as research papers. So this is a point which I wanted to make, that it should not be seen as research. The government has some money for through National Research Foundation, and how are they going to distribute? Where is it going to come, and how whether each one of the teachers is going to be given with that money or not? We have to see whether we are actually in a position to receive it, or can we spend it judiciously? Can we bring out a tangible outcome of it? These are the certain things that we have to keep in mind when we talk about research. I will leave it to the other panelists to add on. I'm sure they have their own important points to add.
I'd like to add a small thing. IBM is probably one of the largest research company in the world. We for the last 27 years, we filed more patents in the world than next 10 companies put together. Right? But I'm not talking about IBM here. See, sir just mentioned, basic research, yes. Unfortunately, he said very clearly, today, the word research has become very degenerated, especially in the large institutes, and it's become a medium to take grants, right? While basic research is good enough, right? I would say, the moment it comes to applied research, believe you me, most of IBM research comes out of academia collaboration globally, including from IITs here. Have we graduated to that level? If you're talking about applied research, you don't even look at government funding. Industry is ready to give you as much fund as you want if you want to go for applied research. So he said very clearly, yes, it's an evolution. For any institute to research has become a very fancy word. Let's start a research center. But you have to have that quality of teachers, that kind of culture, right? It's an ecosystem has to be there. You can't migrate from a teaching system, a research system overnight, right? So I think we should be very careful to do that. And as Reddy said, I unfortunately have seen that many of the research associates, researchers, right, find also it is extended employment to continue the university and somehow get a job ultimately in the university after from research associate to a researcher to a lecturer. So yes, that system needs to be corrected, right? And when IT says, I just echoing whatever you said. That's about it.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to add one point in this. See, for example, again, if you look at Israeli universities, okay,
yep,
they have gone for multiple collaborations. Okay, I mean, Israel is a good model to benchmark on innovation and research. Okay, and you won't believe 40% of Fortune 500 companies have set up centers of research in collaboration with universities.
Absolutely.
Fantastic model of research to emulate, if you ask me honestly.
Yep.
And of course, the Israeli government spends almost 5% of 5 to 6% of their GDP on research alone, whereas we spend hardly 0.5%. And more than that, lot of innovation has come from defense. Okay, the defense collaborates quite a bit. Give a lot of their problems to the universities in Israel. I think there is a need for there is a lot of defense spending which is going to happen in India. It's already happening. I think it's high time that the universities start collaborating with both defense institutes as well as the industries. Okay, for example, if you look at IISc hardly has maybe 8 or 9 centers of research from industry. I don't know why IISc doesn't reach out. Okay, despite the fact that IISc is such a renowned university. Okay, I mean it just doesn't. It is just not reaching out unless the industry reaches out. There is not a response. It's not criticism against universities. Please don't get me wrong. Okay, it is a two-way street always. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have two questions asked by our faculty in the chat room. One is by Sagar sir.
Mantha sir, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. We have a few questions, sir. We will just go in a line. One.
He wants to add. He wants to add to this point.
Yes,
he
sir.
wants to add to this point.
Okay, sir. Mantha sir, please, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
No, I just want on the research part of it. We need to really look at where the problems are. I mean, if you look at the progression available for a faculty, what happens is you have to publish so many papers, and then you'll have to get a PhD and things like that. And there are very set rules. You publish 2 local journals and 1 international journal, and these are all set rules. So therefore, anybody who wants to progress in that route, they get into this mode of publishing papers, and then the whole cycle of research starts. So-called research starts, and most of those papers are mere. Professor Apparao succinctly put it. I mean, they are difficult to be called as papers or whatever. I mean, there are enough journals which can publish those kind of papers and so on. So therefore, and the university systems also don't really get into the mechanics of what journal, which journal, and what kind of paper. These kind of things hardly happen. So therefore, the stress on publishing paper must be taken out from the progression that a faculty has. Then probably some real meaningful work will be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have just one question for Apparao sir, Mantha sir, and Subramaniam sir. It is related to research. The question is like, none of our universities are in top 200. And do you think that this policy is going to change our rankings in the future? This is one question, sir. Maybe in the near future or in the 5 years' time, because of our NEP policy, are we going to change our rankings? Are we going to emerge in one of the top 200 universities in the world list?
I thought University of Hyderabad was in the top 200. No, I think this rankings is like joining a rat race. We're getting into the rat race where, unfortunately, our metric of success is now pegged to this number. And that is the sad part. And where on the one hand, yes, it is encouraging competitiveness where we are forced to be productive. On the other hand, it is basically encouraging more of what I would like to call a cookie cutter kind of an approach to things, where now we know exactly what it takes to get ranked. We were a little late in the game. Indian institutes and Indian universities are a little late in the game because the games of the rules of the game were invented in US and in Europe. And they have gamed the system. We got late, we were late on the scene. So you see fantastic institutions like IISc, which have had a different focus from the beginning, where probably the emphasis was more on learning and true scholastic achievement. I think that is not considered, that has only certain amount of weightage in the overall ranking scheme. Sort of 100, probably that has only a weightage of 30. The remaining 70% of this so-called rankings, as we see, whether it's a QR ranking or the US News World Report ranking or what have you, all of these are based on several factors which are not in our control. I mean, there are issues like perception. How do you game perception?
Correct.
I mean, MIT may not even have a department in a certain area of specialization, but yet they'll be ranked number 1 in that particular specialization just because they're MIT. They score 100 out of 100 on perception. They are MIT, right? So we lose the battle of perception. That's one of those things. Unfortunately, it weighs very heavily on ranking. So, I mean, yes, we as Indian institutes and universities have woken up to this fact that we also need to now participate in this. There are certain benefits to be had if you are ranked higher. there's certainly a lot of benefits to that. But I think we need to learn how to play the game. If you're talking about ranking, does it mean that if I'm a higher ranked institution and I'm a better institution? Well, I think that's an open debate. I'm not sure that is necessarily a metric for rating how good an institution is in terms of research, in terms of quality of research, in terms of quality of researchers. I don't think that's a very good indicator, at least as the way things stand today. So that's my 2 cents on it. I think.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, before I just go on to Mantha, sir, I would like to say that Sanjeev Mehta, sir, has to leave for another meeting. Sir, your closing remarks, sir.
No, I think it's been a wonderful, I think somebody else wants to say something. No, it's been I came here to share ideas, but I'm going back as a learner. I've learned a lot of things from the kind of question which is asked, and the senior panelists have learned a lot. Thank you very much, and would love to contribute in whichever way the Vienna University Institute loves to. I have to go. I have a hard stop. Thank you for the time given and the honor. And please excuse me because I have to go for the next meeting. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Madam, you will take a screenshot.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
I request all the panelists and all the governing bodies of Vienna VJIT to switch on your camera so that we will take a screenshot.
Because Sanjay, we just would like to take a
This is
screenshot.
the kind of modern selfie that we
Modern group photograph.
I should have brought my best face then.
No problem, sir.
looking guys today. Give me 1 second.
We request everyone to switch on the cameras.
Go, madam.
Subramaniam, sir. Principal, sir.
The challenge from working from home is many of us are not camera ready.
Principal, sir.
I think even the participants can switch on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sudhi, sir, can we?
Yes, madam. I'll also include the participants.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be huge.
We'll try to capture as much as possible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Prithvi, sir.
Thank you. Are we done?
Thank you. 1 second.
Yes, sir. Not done?
Yes, sir. Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Hope to connect with you again. Thank you very much.
Sure,
Thank
sir. Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir,
you,
for
sir.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I know that, okay, we are hard pressed for time and we have overshot our time. Mantha, sir, would you like to share your views on this thing? I will add one more last question for this, now for these 3 panelists, sir, especially related to academia. They are asking this question: can we foster research and innovation by promoting bilateral academies or collaboration with foreign universities as established by few IITs? Aparav, sir, and Mantha, sir, any one of you can answer this question, sir, or 3 of you can share your views, sir.
I mean, the collaborations will happen if there is a value proposition for both the guys who are collaborating. Otherwise, there is no collaboration. I mean, on limited aspects, there can certainly be some exchange of ideas and thoughts and so on. At a research level, if there has to be a meaningful collaboration, it must make sense to both of them, and only then they will probably come together. So therefore, there was also a specific mention of internationalization and things like that. You know, we don't have faculty from reputed institutions outside on our campuses and so on. I mean, saying that is fine, but the idea is, why should they come? I mean, if they don't see a value proposition, either some value must be there. I mean, either if nothing is there, at least he must be able to make money. Now, the point is, what are the facilities that he gets? Does he get an opportunity to interact with the local industry? what are the kind of research problems that they are working on. Most of those such kind of ideas, they actually work on any collaboration that has to happen. Similarly, if the students have to come in, I mean, the best of the research institutions have had a history of more than 100 years. I mean, they don't, and they are very well connected with the industry. The industry related problems have to, I mean, the industry must have sufficient confidence in the guys who would probably be working on those projects and things like that. So therefore, it's very necessary that as far as research is concerned, there has to be a certain amount of synergy between the people who actually come to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Parag, sir, please, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was also to join another meeting. I kept people.
Yes, sir.
No issues. Now I thought I'll wait for Mantha sir to complete. The ranking that you have talked about, the research that you have talked about, and the international research collaboration that the 3 points that we have talked, I think Professor Subramaniam has nicely narrated about the rat race that you have on this ranking system. Yes. And definitely we are late in the game, and most of these systems are designed to probably facilitate those early those who joined early in the system to have the better rankings. And it may also happen after a few years that some of us may also get into those ranks. There are many things like perception is a black box. Actually, several of us asked the question to QS and the THE and all kinds of ranking organizations. We always found that it is a black box. They will never tell you more details, and they will beat around and around and around, and then still you will not get the answer for it. So another most important thing that all of us have to keep in mind is that the kind of higher education system that we have, the kind of clientele that we have, the kind of diversity of population that we are serving, if any of those countries have to take, and also amount of money that is invested, if all of these things become part of the assessment, I don't know whether we may be in the top 50. Yes. Some of our institutions may be in the top 50. Those factors never come into picture there. So something else come into picture, and then you will have to wait. As Mantha sir was talking, how many international faculty you have, how many people are on your campus, why they will be here? Why they will be here? They will not be here. So some of these things are skewed, and we need not worry too much about it. But in spite of all that, although several of us know that these are more in favor of those institutions, and we still have made to some of those things, and subject wise we have proved well, and also maybe University of Hyderabad definitely has been figuring in many of those rankings. Whatever different kinds of systems that they take, we figure somewhere in the top few, because there has been a significant contribution in terms of research, and also our students have been doing so well both India and abroad. So these things have contributed as a good institution, and we need not overemphasize on this ranking business.
Yes,
well, we have to
just to add.
Sorry, Kanchana, though I am external to the university atmosphere, I would like to just add one point, okay, at least on the foreign collaboration side. It is in India's interest to have foreign collaborations as much as possible. Otherwise, today, at least 8 lakh students of India are going abroad for both our undergrad and graduate studies, okay? And there is a drain of almost 85 to 90,000 crores of foreign exchange equivalent, okay, from India towards education, funding education abroad, okay, honestly. So I think even if we allow 100 of those universities to come and set up, okay, and they will be setting up universities, we'll at least save $5 to $6 billion, which is 50,000 crores in foreign exchange straight away, which is good for us. At least that limited point I would like to make. And then the second thing I would like to make, though at the cost of differing with all the university people here, I respect them a lot for their contribution to the society, both Professor Subramanian and Professor Apparao. But China has made a conscious effort to get some of their universities into the top 100 ranking. And now they have got 5 universities into the top 50 consciously. Of course, they have pumped in a lot of money, which is there, but they have done that, okay? And we cannot compare with Chinese investments into education sector. They invest around about $650 billion, whereas we invest $25 billion. So there is a huge difference in amount of investment, but Chinese have done it, okay? So we should continue to do that. It's not that we have not done enough, but I think we should do more. That's all.
Yes, so we have to think about all this.
Not in defense of any point, sir. That's what I mentioned in terms of the investment that is made and the diversity of the students that we are catering to. These are the two important things that nobody takes into consideration. And that's where we have to accept it, and we have to aim for them, and we will continue to work for that. And that is, I think, one of the targets that as an institution of eminence for University of Hyderabad, the Ministry of Education has given us that whether you will improve your ranking, we would like to see that you are improving your ranking. And we are working on it, of course.
I agree with you, sir. In fact, our society has a role in that. It's not just the faculty in the institutions. I mean, I have a role as an industry participant. Students have a role. Government has a role. Everybody has a role in that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I fully commend the efforts of our universities. Okay, no denying that, please. Okay.
That's what we all have to work together, so then only we can receive all our targets.
Yes, I think Mantha sir, you want to say something?
I mean, see, as far as this ranking and all there are several different ranking systems all across the world. Some of them are basically on research, some of them are on purely on teaching, some of them are on entrepreneurship, some of them are how many startups you have. There are different kind of systems that are available, and there is also one system that something like poll of polls. It takes all the rankings and it takes an average of the ranking systems and so on. So how much importance you attach to a certain kind of ranking system that you are using, and it must be contextualized within the organization to which you are applying that, and so on. So they are those aspects are very important. As far as the NIRF is concerned, I mean, there were the initial years I had actually participated in the development of that process. All that I can say after almost 5-6 years of that operation, one can, I mean, if you understand really the dynamics of how NIRF progresses, you can actually game that system.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, one needs to be very careful of what people are trying to do and how they're being done. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We have to gauge all these developments, and we have to work, implement it, and so that we can emerge victorious at the end. Thank you very much, sir. And we are extremely sorry to delay the session, because we have wonderful questions coming up, and everyone wants to get their questions clarified. And to be very frankly speaking, it's a confluence of academicians and industrialists, okay, speaking about all these things. Okay, it was really enlightening, sir. Thank you very much for your patience. Apparao sir, thank you very much. Now I request Chandakeswar sir, Director, to propose the vote of thanks. Just a couple of minutes, sir. We are done.
Thank you, Kanchana madam. A very good afternoon to one and all. The time has come to draw a curtain to our program as we come to the close of the time. And first of all, I would like to thank each one of you. Especially, let me thank our panelists, Dr. A. Apparao Garu, Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad, and Professor KVL Subramaniam Garu, Dean Planning and Professor of Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Hyderabad, and Professor S.S. Mantha sir, former AICT Chairman and Chancellor, KL University, and Ramakant Desai, President, and co-CEO Happiest Minds Technologies, and former Senior Vice President Wipro Technologies, and Sanjeev Mehta, Advisor and Head Program Development, IBM Innovation Center for Education, for sparing their valuable time and participating in the panel discussion. I think at the end of the program, definitely all our participants, I think they have enriched with the knowledge about NEP 2020. And we express our heartfelt gratitude to our CD Naidu Garu, Principal, VNR VJIT, and Jayashree Madam, Head Department of Humanities, and the core team of NEP 2020, Kanchana Madam, Pratibha Rani Saha, and Prithvi Kumar and Ashok. All these 4 people involved in making this event a grand success. And also, we express our heartfelt gratitude to all the participants for their enthusiasm and active participation in the deliberations. And finally, thank you all, and we look forward to see you all in our next webinar on higher education. So in this connection, once again, I request all the delegates, I think without your support, without your participation in the deliberations, it is not possible to conduct successfully. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Subramania Garu and Appara Garu and Manata sir and Ramakant Desai and as well as Sanjeev Mehta for accepting our invitation and taking active part in deliberations. I wish you all good luck. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Naidu. Thank you, Subramaniam. Thanks to all the participants.
Thank you, sir, for all of you for being panelists here, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kanchana Madam.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's a good program, and thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's our pleasure.
I think all external people have left, I believe. Madam, one thing we need to precise that, faculty are leaving in between.
Sir, let us check whether they are there or not. I think so. They have left.